need to or want to. So again, we're going to root in Indigenous sovereignty. I am going to share my screen. And here we go. Welcome, welcome. Greetings to your ancestors, those you know and those you don't know. And I'll invite you to just take a breath as you feel your connection to the earth. If you know the names of the ancestors and the living land stewards of the soil and the name that the land itself answers to, take a breath with that name in your heart space, dedicating an intention of care. It is so well documented by science and oral history, which I respect both of them, that for our planet to be habitable, Indigenous folks need to be the land stewards with the authority and power to protect the ecosystems. Indigenous peoples overwhelmingly protect our oceans, our biomes, and it is in all of our best interest to have land stewards tending to the soil and the waters. And gently remembering our shared values, integrity, radical honesty, care, the work of love, love in practice, lineage, situating ourselves in relationship of those who have gone before us and those who will come after us, and sweetness, so intentionally making space for joy and pleasure, even when there's so many incentives not to. And as our friends reminded us yesterday, wholeness, justice, and reciprocity. And feel free to add any other shared values if you want to add them in the chat. And again, just rooting in our realities. Is there anyone who wants to unmute and read these aloud?
I don't mind doing it. All of them?
As many as you want. You can popcorn pass it if you choose.
Sovereignty. This is native land. Genocidal settler colonialism is in the soil. Anti-Blackness, hatred of Afro-descendant people is the core of the world system.
So those are two realities, and we can take a breath because those are hard realities. Those are hard things. And Rachel offered in the chat adding the values of discernment, kindness, and humility. Beautiful. Anyone want to pick up with number 3 of the realities that we acknowledge? Go ahead.
If I'm not, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yay, it's working. So the third reality, racial capitalism, the economic system we inhabit cannot be separated from anti-Blackness and settler colonialism.
Yeah. And anyone want to take the 4th and or 5th one? I know at least one Joni shared that they are in a house full of people. So if you can't unmute, no worries, I understand. I can speak to them. I see maybe Rachel, would you want to do the last 2?
Sure. So number 4, Orientalism, exotification and commodification of the quote-unquote East dehumanizes peoples of the West, South, and East Asia. And then number 5, cis-het patriarchy. Dominant gender and sexual norms oppress and exploit gender and sexual minorities and uphold oppressive systems.
Thank you. And so I want to honor the truth-telling act that we all just engaged in, each in the way that we were capable of, the integrity, care, lineage, and sweetness, all in practice there. Ancestral transformation, in my experience and observation, happens with a fierce loyalty to the truth and to speaking difficult truths, articulating them using sign language, using the spoken word, the written word, but breaking free of reactive patterns involves being truthful. And often the truths are hard to tell, but I'm grateful that we all practiced speaking that and doing that together. And just quickly recapping framework, systemic oppression, all those things we just mentioned, reproduce systematically ancestral trauma. So it's not an issue of one bad ancestor. It's actually when we're living inside structural oppression, like this happens in lineages that survive and where people survive and get through the time-space continuum. And we're always living within these multiple levels. In our embodied level, we're also being affected by interpersonal, organizational, and then macro social contexts. And for me, as a deeply spiritual, energetic person, the energetic realms permeate all of them. But if we are just trying to focus on the energetic and the embodied and the micro, that to me is spiritual bypassing, of not being that truth teller who looks at the difficult realities. And this was the question that I asked yesterday, and we'll ask it again. If someone wants to speak it and practice being a radical truth teller, asking difficult questions. Welcome, Anita. If you want to read aloud the question that's on the screen, go for it. If not, no worries.
Who benefits when passionate change agents are overwhelmed with despair?
Yeah, so that's something that we were thinking about yesterday with the question of connecting to purpose and hope. And while honoring all the valid reasons for despair, I have offered that ancestral transformation, breaking free of reactive patterns, is a way to get out of despair that has worked for me and folks I love. And the way I think of it is epigenetic. My father is actually a geneticist, and alchemy. And I come from Taiwanese ancestors on my father's side, and there's this very Taoist preoccupation with transformation alchemy. So when we are breaking free from reactive patterns, we are choosing to go down this little trajectory. So the more we deny and react to and don't tell those uncomfortable truths, the more that harm continues to repeat. And this alternative path of naming, processing what has happened going before gives us the opportunity then to move into action. We can, when there's hard histories, we can course correct, try to do something differently to let the change begin with us. And when it's been me who's made a mistake, or my ancestors who've made mistakes, we can share the lessons that we've learned. And that also was a way that we can claim some agency from something that's past, which we cannot change. And both of these began to shift the meaning of what the past has for us and for our descendants. And it also sets in motion new outcomes, new patterns, and then we get to change the lineage identity narrative. And I didn't put it on here because we're focusing on, in this one, the harmful consequences. It's also important to repeat what's good, right? To keep preserving all the wonderful things that our ancestors did, which sometimes we might take for granted or forget about or not know of. So in that case, we just keep it up, keep going. And this is, thank you for everybody who was asking yesterday. This will go a little deeper today. This is what has saved my life. What worked for me is to break things down into pieces, because ancestral trauma is one of those things that can be really, really big. It is literally in our bodies. If you have a body, it comes from ancestors, and it is deeply formative, because families of origin are incredibly impactful when we're in the developmental phases of our existence, and so ancestors and family of origin impact so many areas of one's life that it can feel overwhelming. So breaking it into pieces is what helps me actually do something different. So the encounter piece is meeting what is. Then I separate, allow, reflect, and transform. This is basically feel, this is think, and this is act. And the reason I separated these three out is because when I've tried to do all of them, to skip feeling and go right into action, for example, without reflection, it hasn't worked very well. So allowing the feelings to be felt, period, without them being rational, but just embodying them, reflecting, then taking a beat, and as long as actually it might need to take, to consider, okay, what do I know about my ancestry, and what is that? What meaning have I made, and is that the meaning I want to make out of it? And then transform, make specific choices to change the trajectory. And then healing is an integration of all of these four and an embodiment of a new lineage narrative. So this is what's worked for me. And I love Earth. I love this planet. So I made it a little acronym. And this is, again, like a deeper explanation of it. But the five pieces, I actually want to, again, allow folks to unmute and again to practice, to speak a new way of doing, a new way of being for your ancestry. Anyone want to read this part? Go for it, Joni.
Have a little pause in the chaos, the happy chaos. But anyway, a protocol of epigenetic alchemy. Encounter, research bad ancestors. Allow, process all that surfaces in full awareness of the past. Reflect, consider what to perpetuate, shift, and begin. Transform, implement an ongoing praxis of changed behavior. Heal, embody the ancestral crossroads to heal the lineage across space-time.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. And that was an invocation in voice. Joni just gave voice. And in many ancient traditions, the word is very, very sacred and powerful, and can ripple and change the vibration of things. So I'm so thankful for that invoicing. And the way that this appears to me in the framework of my paternal lineage is with these 5 spirits. So in Taoism, my Chinese name has the Tao, the word of Tao in it. There's actually this beautiful idea that we have 5 spirits, not just like one soul, but we have our ethereal soul, and then our corporeal soul, the soul that is closer to our body, and the soul that when we're dreaming goes out and has adventures in the ethereal realms. Our heart, which is also very close to our consciousness, our intellect, and our ancestral determination and willpower. So for me to be an epigenetic alchemist has to do with going through this protocol and in this process to get all of these spirits shining and flowing and glowing and doing their thing, and they're actually in our body. It's a very it's a very material thing. Like our soul ethereal soul is considered to be in the liver. The heart, spirit is in the heart. The intellect is in our spleen. So if you've ever had upset stomach before a test, you know the intellect, spleen, stomach connection. The lungs are the connection between the embodied corporeal soul, and the kidneys are this place of deep ancestral willpower and memory. So these 5 elements, the wood of the soul and the liver, the fire of the heart, the metal of the lungs, the earth of the intellect and the spleen, and the water of the kidneys and the willpower, all together are an alternative way of being in the world than this here, where I'm just, for me, this was represented, this ancestral trauma due to harm from all these levels meant that I might be walking around through the day, but 10 years ago, 2013, emotionally, spiritually, I was very much like curled up in the fetal position, like perpetually, and just felt like I was just like getting kicked all the time is what it felt like. And so this is actually what I feel like today, this beautiful Tai Chi system. And so that is what I want to offer and share as a blessing that I felt that I want to offer you because, oh, here we are. This is how I see each of you and myself. And this is another way of representing the epigenetic alchemist. That, so again, we've got those 5 spirits. The heart is connected to Mars, the kidneys to Mercury and water. This is representing the liver with Jupiter, the lungs representing Mars, and in the middle is Earth in our center. And we also have the stars of the Big Dipper all along our center line, especially in these 3 elixir fields in the crown of the head, in the heart, and in the lower belly. So when, let's see, when we're doing this like epigenetic alchemist work, going through that process, my hope for you is that whether you do ancestral healing work with me or with a book or another person or whatever, that you experience wholeness, which was one of the values that someone shared yesterday, and feel yourself as this cosmic being having a human experience and not just being buffeted by generations of harm. So we'll go into a little bit of the 5 element organ healing, so that my hope is I can offer you a little bit of this embodied energetics and feel like this yin and yang 5 element harmony in your body. So for this guided visualization, you can find a comfortable experience. So whether that's lying down or sitting or standing, listen to your body to let it tell you what you need right now, and bringing attention to where you're connected to the earth. So if you're seated, notice your sits bones, those bones at the bottom of your buttocks. Just bringing attention there, as well as to the balls and soles of your feet. Noticing the big toe, the baby toe, all the little toes in between. Noticing your breath. If at any point it's not something you want to continue, you can just tap your foot and tap your hands on your thighs to just come back. That's always an option for you. And with each exhale, notice if you can let a little bit of tension go. As you are feeling gravity in your weight, see if there's places in your body where muscles are doing the work, and instead, gravity could do the work. And you could let go and de-armor. And feel yourself, as you let go, being cradled in the embrace of gravity, of Earth holding everything you give. Every time you let something go, every time you release a burden, Earth takes it and has more capacity still. None of the burdens you're laying down are toxic. This is all like giving Earth really good compost. So as you release tension or stress, it's just great manure for Earth to recycle. And you notice yourself feeling lighter and lighter. And behind that heavenly eye point between your eyebrows, a beautiful light begins to glow. And it's that bridge of light to you from the North Star, which has your name on it. And with your permission, that light comes into your crown, fills you up, and pours down your neck, down and down and down. Pouring into your heart and filling your lungs down into your spleen and stomach and pancreas in the center, your liver in the right lower rib cage, the kidneys and adrenals in the upper back where your ribs end, down into your lower abdomen, starlight covering your intestines, urinary bladder, and reproductive organs, and then overflowing down into your thighs and upper arms, forearms and calves, hands and feet, fingers and toes. And it pours out through all of the pores in your body, radiating to fill up that energy body around you, about 1 foot in front and behind you, above and below you. Repairing the edge of that boundary, that shield, which is a semi-permeable membrane, just like the cell. So it allows in what is good for you, including constructive criticism, but it doesn't allow in any harm. It reflects it away. And you notice a glow begin below your right rib cage, where your liver and your ethereal soul live. And this appears with an azure green jade color. Any color of green that appears is just right. And this is chi, or life force, from Jupiter, which also knows your name and sent this specifically to you. And your liver is so happy it's taking a bath in this gentle light energy, which is supporting your blood flow, all of the powerful detoxification functions of the liver. And it's also supporting your ethereal soul, that capacity that you have to dream and to vision and to go forth into the unknown, that eternal part of you that knows what you came here to do and seeks out ways to make it manifest. And just allow that gentle love to then move upwards to your heart. So on the center line in your chest, that green light gives a gentle bath of your heart. And then it begins to turn into a rose color. So wood, that element of that azure, feeds fire. And now this pink rose, gentle, sweet color starts to bathe, fill, and permeate your heart space, filling you up with unconditional love and the capacity for joy. And it is coming from Mars, which is a loving and gentle yin planet as well in Taoism. And this light is specifically sent for your cardiovascular system, for your bloodstream, for that beautiful drum beat that you dance to in your chest. And this is also celebrating and reminding you of your birthright and capacity for joy, for love, unconditional love. And I was reminding you that when you experience joy and unconditional love, it is a blessing to ancestors who suffered, and that your delight in this world can be an offering of gratitude to them that they appreciate. And then this pink light begins to move down into the center of your belly, and it gently bathes your spleen area between the belly button and the chest. And it turns golden into the earth element. So after the fire has burned, it becomes ash. And this golden light is a love letter to you specifically from Saturn above and also from the earth below, covering and bathing and permeating your spleen, stomach, and pancreas, supporting them in finding nourishment and tender care. And this light has also come to soothe you of worrying and overthinking, of pensiveness, back and future preoccupation, of the ways that the intellect can get a little bit ahead of itself. So the intellect that lives here is receiving a beautiful care package of earth chi, earth energy, and is so grateful to be supported by this limitless golden light, which then goes back up to your heart and past the heart into the lungs. And now both your spleen and your lungs are glowing golden. Any worrying or overthinking you've been doing about your ancestral identity is a little bit eased. And your lungs now shift to glow a white, metallic, reflective light of silver moonlight, covering the bronchial tubes, the bronchioles, the trachea, the alveoli, the capillaries where gas exchange happens at the alveoli, all the little cilia in your air pathways that clean your air. And your lungs are so thankful as they bathe in this white silver moonlight from Venus, from the west. And this comes to help you let go of grief, to feel and then let go of grief and sorrow and loneliness, to honor your body's sensitivity by protecting it. This is also a metal energy of shielding. So this white metallic light from your lungs is also radiating to cover your skin and also out to that energetic shield around your bubble. As you let go of any grief you're ready to release and then protect yourself. And that white light then moves down into the lower belly, covering your kidneys and reproductive organs in the lower abdomen, shifting to become a deep ebony, indigo, or royal blue color of oceanic ancestral wisdom, supporting your reproductive, kidneys, and urinary bladder systems, fortifying your determination with generations of power, all those who have gone before you, whose existence led to your existence. And as you feel this ancestral power, on each exhale, you're letting go of more and more fear, listening to any information that your body and your ancestors' bodies might be saying about things that they are or were afraid of. So taking note of that information, but letting go of the fear. And then letting that blue light come back up to where we began in the lower right rib cage area, and watering down, pouring down in a nice rainfall on that forest, that wood energy in your right rib cage. And you bring your attention back up to that top of your head, the crown points, and the inside of your upper elixir field in your head. Breathing in and gathering that rainbow light, storing it within your intuition, reminding yourself that you always have access to these ancient and limitless sources of life force. Breathing in your heart space, gathering the rainbow light here, reminding your heart spirit that you have access to these reservoirs. And then breathing back down into your lower belly, below your belly button, storing that rainbow light in your lower elixir field as a reservoir, a rainbow of support. And when you're ready, trust that you have access to those resources, and gently bring your attention back to your feet and to your hands, maybe rolling your ankles a little bit, rubbing your hands together to make some chi here on earth. You can put your warm hands over your ears, over your eyes, to wake up your senses and come back together. And let's take a moment to debrief what that felt like. Oh, that makes me so happy to hear. Yeah, this is really good for the nervous system. Yes. So Audre Lorde said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, the poet herself said this very beautifully, but the gist of one of her quotes is that every oppressive system, to maintain itself, must do everything it can to disconnect the people it's trying to oppress from their sources of power. I believe this is from the uses of the erotic. So, and she was especially focused on the erotic in that sense. But there are multiple sources of power available to us. And again, who benefits when passionate idealists are in despair? We have ancient, limitless, and powerful sources that are far older than racial capitalism, which is like, 8-ish hundred years at the oldest. Like Earth is 13 billion years old. there are forces way bigger that are actually on the side of life, that are always available for us. And one thing that can come up is like, oh, but if there's loving support, how come it's let this happen? And the way that my teachers have framed it is that these energies care about consent. So they're not gonna sweep in and try to rescue us if we haven't asked for it. And especially if our actions are showing that we still like want to continue the dysfunction, but not commanding, not trying to be in charge, but just asking, hey Mars, hey Jupiter, I could use a little help here. Like, it is amazing. Like, I encourage I encourage you, if you don't already, to have a speed dial on these planets. I love hearing how everybody's feeling. Thank you. So these are also in you always. These sources of power are in your own body. So these ancestral identity archetypes, and I saw some of you took the quiz, are these 5 energies that we touched on. The wood, which is traditionally depicted as a dragon in the eastern direction, the fire in the south, metal in the west, water in the north, and then the earth in the center. We are all embodiments of all of these energies in our bodies, and then we mirror. The macrocosm and the microcosm are mirrors. And if you've ever looked at, like, you know, a spiraling fern or a fjord, and the ways that, you know, if you zoom in at a hair, it looks like a redwood forest. There's incredible mirroring in this magical cosmos that we inhabit. And so if you have taken the quiz, I hope that was supportive in seeing how maybe a trait that family of origin people might not have liked, say, you know, the wood energy is connected to anger. That's the traditional classical emotion of wood energy. Family of origin might not have liked if you got angry about things that were unfair. But my idea with these archetypes is that actually is a gift, right? Because classically, these 5 elements theories are like 3,000 to 5,000 years old. And so for millennia, people in what we now call China, though then they were like the Shang people, they didn't necessarily identify the same, have seen all of these as important. And we need every single one. We need spring, summer, winter, fall, winter, and the earth that holds it all together. So if you are the rebel reckoner, right, like that's a sacred gift to the lineage, because usually this energy comes, this is spring. So this is that force that pushes through the heavy earth and brings life again. So this is the energy that breaks through stagnancy. Or the intellectual, the person who's always asking maybe questions that family members didn't want to answer, that inquisitive intellectual, that is a gift that you can leverage to break free of reactive patterns. That is a beautiful thing. The person who's the grief doula, who feels it all, and who sets boundaries and says no more, that is a gift to the lineage. The heart spirit seeker, and the lineage bearer who seeks out the old medicine ways, all of these are important. And in dysfunctional family systems impacted by racial capitalism, all of that diversity of gift is not always recognized. But I want to offer in that quiz, which you are free to take as many times as you want, to see, oh, wait, I think I'm in a season where I really feel called to be in that intellectual, like, archivist mode. Or I really want to make sure that we write down all of Aunt Maybell's recipes, because she's 90, who's seeking out all the remedies. Like, there is a gift in every single one of these energies to our lineages. And my hope for you is to feel that transforming your lineage and breaking free of reactive patterns is possible for you. And there's a way that you specifically can do that no one else can, based on who you already are, that you can't help being, the traits that you were most, like, you know, chastised for. a curiosity, a passion for justice, that is actually exactly the energy that is needed, even when the system is trying to maintain itself. That those reactive patterns, when we reclaim and shower with love those aspects of ourselves that we can't change. I'm not talking about like perpetually being late. Like that's not a character trait that I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, for me, I would say like my sensitivity. I feel things exquisitely sensitively, and it's not something I can change. However, it's been challenging for my family members who were like, "Oh my God, like you don't like this hotel room? Why is that family member like overwhelmed by this hotel room?" Like it's not like the easiest thing, but that is actually my gift. My sensitivity has brought blessings, actually, when I've learned how to work with it. So my hope is that this offers a framework where you say, wait, hey, that thing that I didn't like about myself, it comes from like Mars or Mercury or Jupiter, and it's the energy of spring or the energy of autumn, and, you know, not a blank check to be a jerk about it, of course, but breaking reactive patterns, the fact that you are here at this moment is an incredible testament to your capacity and your commitment to being a lineage bearer, and exactly who you are is the gift. It's really interesting. There's an article, I might try to send it out afterwards, that even siblings don't have the same DNA, because when during conception, meiosis and mitosis, like all the beautiful DNA strands get scrambled around. So like I look different from my sister, and I also have different like I have a different genotype and phenotype than my sister. So there's different ancestors that are a little more present for me, right? A little closer in my nose shape or in my eye color, both of which are, it's more my eye color and hair color that's different from her. So there's, even if you have 10 siblings, which was much more common a few generations ago, every single one of you has this unique gift. Because even my family has a fair amount of twins. Twins are not the same. Even when they're the closest we can get to being the same, their spirits are different. And so I wanted to give that to you, and emphasize how important it is, right? So you get to be this trunk between all that went before and then your work in the world, whether that's your art, if you have physical kids, if you're a teacher, all the lives you touch as a teacher, your friend, all the your activism or your organizing, you get to be this mirror, where you don't have to, this is like, I think, equally reflecting one from the other, but it could be that you could go differently, right? You can be that spring dragon who uses Jupiter's energy to go in a different trajectory. And I probably send out, I think, some research I did, like our family of origin and ancestry affects relationships, family, creativity, sexuality, coping mechanisms, activism, friendships, finances and career, body image, and a whole lot of other places, but I did research on all of these. And I am going to let someone else read this, and then we can debrief and close out.
Hello? Okay, I can read it. So long as you are breathing, you can change the story of your lineage.
Yes. Oh, and thank you. I just saw, thank you, Anika and Shanice, for the support in the chat to get the quiz. Beautiful. I'm gonna go and find more links for you. But in the meantime, anyone wanna unmute what came up or just speak? I will actually end the recording for a little bit of privacy.